Hey friend, this is TJ from funkyfoliageshop.com. Hope you are doing amazingly well. Just coming today, I said I would share a little bit of my story and how I got into plants and why I just love plants so much, right? I grew up in a small town, actually a village, just south of Chicago. Happy, happy childhood. I am a product of the 70s and 80s. And while there were some challenging times in our community, what I remember and hold fast to most is the experiences that I had as a child with my family. Very large, close knit family. And one of my most fond memories is actually going to the garden with my grandmother and grandfather. They were from the South, and like many families, they had, you know, a garden to feed their family, and just the time in nature and communing with both the plants and my grandparents was just something that I really held on to. And so, fast forward to adulthood, we all have challenges, we all have traumas and things that happen, right? Um, and at one point, I had some of those things going on. You could say, if you are into that sort of thing, I was kind of going through what's referred to as a dark night of the soul. Um, Divorce and separation and moving and some homelessness at one point really brought me to a place where I needed to reconnect. And so, one of the first things that I did when my children and I moved into a very small apartment was to start a small patio garden. And it was, yeah, it was not majestic at all. It was some buckets and just some basic, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But that really sparked something in me. I knew that I wanted to reconnect with who I was at a very basic level, and get back to doing things that I really enjoyed. And so, patio gardening really sparked that for me. And so, what eventually happened is that my patio garden, my little buckets, and a couple of tomato cages eventually became quite a thing, quite a spectacle. So much so that friends would they just text or call and say, "Hey, what are you doing? Can I sit on your patio?" Because there was music, there was lights, there was just a vibe, right? Um, yeah, and so it allowed me to reconnect with myself and also reconnect with people that really loved and cared about me, and we were able to kind of love and commune with each other. And I really enjoyed that. And so then, fast forward to COVID, I'm still patio gardening. It's still getting great. I think, and when I say patio garden, I'm talking 100+ plants in a space. So I know because my daughter would go out there and count, like, Mom, this is a lot of plants. But she enjoyed it too. Um, so COVID happens. I'm still patio gardening. We are still social distancing. We are still at home for the most part, and it's getting cold. We do live in the Chicago area still, and um, you can't be outside in a garden in the wintertime. Like, you can sit out there for, into the fall, but you don't really want to be sitting out there when the halt comes, right? So, what happened was I was like, okay, well, you better make this inside feel like the outside, meaning the inside of my home. So, I started collecting more houseplants. I had a few, I've always had a few plants over the years. My mom had houseplants, my grandparents' garden, and my mom had houseplants. So I was very, familiar with houseplants. So I started collecting houseplants and more plants. and more plants and more plants. And then at that time, I also, I am a bit of a serial entrepreneur. So I had started my website. Originally, it was called Herbs in the Burbs because Herbs in the Burbs was actually my Instagram handle that I used just to share my garden, right? And so I just started herbsintheburbs.com to make some extra money because my hair salon was not doing the best. And I started with accessories, um, and then it just kind of grew from there. Clients in the hair salon wanted to buy plants, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I can do this. Maybe we'll start as a pop up. Maybe we'll, just sell some plants a couple times a month, once a week, or something like that. And that took off, and that was doing really well. And then um, what happened in the summertime is that people go outside, so they're more concerned with their outdoor plants than their indoor plants. So then house plant sales go down. And this is a crazy story. So I found myself doubting myself, but also at the same time having a lot of belief in, grounding myself in meditation and things like that. My family and I had gone on vacation, and I was super worried about the plants. Not that they, well, partially that they weren't selling, but also I was going for a whole week and I was like, oh my God, who's going to watch my plants? There was nobody to watch my plants. And I was stressed about the plants. So I'm sure some of you have those similar feelings when you go on vacation or whatever. And we'll discuss things like that in future videos, what you can actually do on vacation. But what I actually ended up doing was during one of my daily meditations, I was like halfway meditating, halfway asleep, and something spoke to me and said, well, if you are going to be worried about these plants not selling, and your main joy is just being able to share your love of plants with people, why don't you just give them away? And so I was like, okay. Didn't tell my family, and came back and put up announcements on Facebook, which was my major source of marketing at the time, that I was doing a free plant purge. I had full intentions to give away every plant, every full size plant. I don't care how much I paid for it. I don't care how much the retail cost was for it. I was giving it away. And it just felt so good to, I'm a bit of a crybaby too. So it just felt so good, and I can feel it right now. It felt so good to think about sharing plants, sharing the love, teaching people how it affects you mentally and how it affects you spiritually. And just sharing even the physical beauty of plants with people. It felt so good that I agreed to do it, and I opened the doors on, oh, and I forgot to mention, I was doing all of this from my hair salon. Oh, it's the first Tuesday of the month. I hope that's not too loud. Here we have tornado sirens that go off at 10 a.m. It's 10 a.m., first Tuesday of the month. So I'm gonna let the sirens go. So is that I was doing these pop-ups and everything from my hair salon. And so Saturday comes, we start early, and there was like a line out the door of people wanting to come and get a free plant. The only stipulation was that you got one free plant. You could buy anything that you wanted to buy, right? Um, but what happened in my giving is that I actually had the best sales day that I've ever had because I wanted to give. I love giving. I love sharing. I love loving on people. Um, and it was just such an amazing experience that I continued having it. And I remember at one point telling my mom, like, how long do you think I can give away plants? She was like, I don't know, just go with it. And so I have learned to be very in in tune with my intuition, and I just kept going with it. And when a time came and I felt like it was time to let that go, I did. But in the meantime, um, we were on the news. People still call. Even though I am all virtual, people still want to support, and I still want to give. And so um, that's why I made the decision to make my business less about selling plants. I hope you buy plants, but more about the feeling that I get when I talk to people about plants. When I talk, baby, I'm a baby, I'm a little baby. Um, More about the feeling that I get um, sharing and loving plants with people who love plants. And so that's why I decided to start this channel. I am in no means um, an expert. I just want to share my love, and I hope that my love of plants and my love of plant people and my love of everything that this earth is comes through on this channel. So if you are someone who feels the same, if you are new, if you are a professional, if you are a collector, I hope that you stick around. Please do follow. Oh, tears falling. Please do follow the Funky Foliage Shop on all social media platforms and on YouTube. And if you are interested in purchasing anything, um, you can always visit funkyfoliageshop.com, okay? Until next time, I will see you all on the flip flop. And remember that I love you almost as much as your plants love you. I'll see you soon.